Fine. So again, welcome back, all of you, for a fresh semester of during this challenging period of time. Very good number has come, 34. It's very good. Immediately after lunch, it's a challenging thing. You'll be sleepy mood and still you are in here. So, so this subject, as I said, uh, as we all know, structural analysis. Two different words, right? So what I'll do, I'll try to share the screen and in a whiteboard, and we'll try to show you some of the interesting aspects associated with this course, uh, such that you will get a very good understanding of how this course runs. So to start with, if you are talking about the course, that's what I'm trying to say. Two words are there. What are those? Structural analysis. Okay. Now let me first try to talk about only these two words, nothing else. We'll not go directly into the subject, we'll not go directly into the technical aspect of it. Just focus on these two terms separately. Okay. Now let me compare structural analysis with human body. It's an interesting analogy. Let me try how best I can try to correlate. So if you can see the human body, uh, so how do we try to relate? So structural means that thing that has a shape, form, size, and all the properties. Okay, structural meaning, I'm not talking about dictionary definitions or textbook definitions. I'm just putting it in a basic layman terms. So imagine a case where I don't know anything. You people, you are listening, you also doesn't know anything, but we wanted to just define something. That's where I'm trying to define. So structural means that something which has size, shape, properties, and it can move also. Okay, whether if it is of small size, we can ensure that we only can move it. If it is a bigger one, some additional force is required for it to move. So these are certain things that we need to consider when we are defining a structural term. Now let us take our human body. Okay, human body. So imagine a case, that I am there and I am standing or sitting, whatever the position I am in right now. So this body consists of various parts, right? Like hands, legs. So is there a portion in the body that will never move? Of course, yes, noses and all. Even your nose also will move, right? See, if I'm trying to say that, I'm just putting my hands on the nose, there is some sort of movement in my nose parts also, internally or externally. And ears can move. Whenever I put earphones and try to remove it, ears can move. So let us talk about those parts that can move freely to start with. So if I take an example of a leg as well as a nose, okay, and in structural, there is no such comparison as such, but I'm trying to make you understand what exactly we are trying to do in the subject. So imagine a case that Dharnidhar was standing and in front of his house, and he has to enter into his house. I hope you all got the situation right now. So this is the house, and he's standing right here. So he has to enter this part, and he is approximately 10 feet away from his house. Okay, as simple as that. Now, so many. Now the question is, what should Dharnidhar do to see that he will reach his house in a shorter duration of time, in a longer duration of time, and within an average time? So, so he can reach his house in any of these three parameters. 10 feet, if it is short, he can reach in 5 seconds. If he is running, he can take more than 5 minutes also. And he can take anything between 5 seconds and 5 minutes also. So how it is? it is calculated. Do I need to use any equipment or tool, something like that? Not required, right? If I just switch on my stopwatch and if I go there by and reach my house, or if he reaches his house, and immediately I'll stop the stopwatch, I'll get to know at what time he reached, right? Simple concept. But what are we defining? Short, long, average. Oh, good. So what did we do here? We have analyzed the position of Dharmidhar and the condition in which he, in what time he will reach 10 feet, that such that he can reach his house. We have done some basic analysis. So analyzing can be for a given situation, it can be for a given object or a given material, anything. I am holding a pen in my hand and I can analyze this pen. What I can say, what is the efficiency for the functioning of this pen such that I can use it for writing on the paper or a board or whatever it might be. I'm analyzing a pen. I'm analyzing my specs here, how efficient they are and how helpful they are for me to give me clarity in looking an object. I'm analyzing my shirt, how comfortable it is during summer, how comfortable is it during winter. So, which means, so analysis is not something new then, isn't it? Analysis is not something new. Analysis is known to us. So, what is that thing that is known to us? Everything in and around us, including us, we are doing a daily analysis. Our human body, I just spoke about legs right there. So if he has to walk from 10 feet to his house, the best effective part of his body is the leg, isn't it? Of course, we are thankful to God that we got two legs to walk. You know? So, like that, if you take a structural, so structure means what? So I'm sitting inside a room, isn't it? If I am sitting inside a room, I'm covered by what? Top, I have a roof, and sides, I have walls. Imagine that I don't have all these five facilities and I'm sitting. What it will be? It will be in the open air. So, am I comfortable sitting inside the closed door or open doors? It depends. It depends on what condition, the atmospheric condition, and what, and for that, what did we do? Analysis. So how long can I sit on just beneath the sun in an open atmosphere? Okay, I'll say half an hour. Okay, after half an hour, what will happen? I'll faint. So this is what we call as analyzing a given situation, analyzing a given condition, and analyzing everything that is around us. So analysis is simple. Now come to structural part. So in structures, what all we have. So let us go from top to bottom approach or bottom to top approach. So both ways it is possible. So bottom, I'll just not confuse you and try to deviate beyond what we need to learn in this course. I'll not say anything extra also such that it will be unnecessary confusion. But you can see here, a structure can consist of a slab, it will consist of a beam, it will consist of a column, it will consist of a footing that is at the bottom and the foundation at the end. So this is a top-down approach. This is the entire cycle. So whatever you can see on the top is called a slab. If there are any projections beneath or below the slab, it is a beam. You have a column in all, that's what in our terminology we call it as pillars. Of course, these two are, as of now, I don't want to cover it because it's an extensive topic and exhaustive also. So, so the thing is, whenever we are trying to talk about the structural part, so structural means that which can have the different configuration, shape, of course, size, and they can take the loads directly. They can take the loads directly. And there is something called non-structural. Something called non-structural. So sometimes it is called as non-structural and sometimes it is called structural. I'll let you know why and when and how. So the one of the important component in the non-structural or structural thing is walls. So the question is coming into your mind, why wall is a non-structural element? Good question. That is, if somebody getting it, it's a very good question. So now when I'm talking about the walls or different types of non-structural elements, the purpose of walls is to cover the internal regions of a building. Isn't it? If you don't have walls, what will happen? Now the question is, I can either use concrete walls, masonry walls, reinforced concrete, means concrete with steel walls, or I can just put wooden planks, the strong wood. I can use asbestos sheets. I can use glass. If it's an office, I can use a transparent glass. Now imagine that. Oh, okay. So walls are non-structural because I can use any material. I can use any material. It need not be concrete. But structural means by default you have to use concrete. At least in India, 90% of the structures are made up of concrete. You will learn what is concrete and all in the coming semesters, but I am not going to touch about it. So, so this is how we are trying to bifurcate. And what are we analyzing? What do we want to analyze in this subject? We wanted to analyze a beam and a combination of beam and column. So in this subject, we are going to analyze a beam and a combination of a beam plus column, and that too not in detail, at a very rare, not many units also are there which covers combination of both. One chapter is there, if I am not wrong, we will see that. So this combination of beam and column is called a frame. Frame, okay, frame. This is not a new word. Frame is definitely not a new word. Wherever you have a window, you can see, if you are in your house right now, you can see the windows adjacent to you. It is looking like a frame. Okay, window frame. That's what we call. And whenever we take pictures, images, photo, if somebody likes photography, when we take photos of ourselves or our parents or grandparents or our relatives, we will put it in a frame. They will say, "Na, your parents also would ask you, okay, was that photo frame?" So what is a frame now? I just give some examples: window frame, photo frame. So photo frame means the entire photo is sitting in a selected dimensioned object. That is called as a frame. We are not calling the complete thing as frame. We are just calling the outer portion of the photo as frame. So the photo is sitting inside a frame, right? Now, now here in structure, how do we call a frame? It is a combination of both beam as well as column. And now I need not say what is a beam to all of you. Everybody should know by this time what is a beam. So why the name is called as beam? What is that? Is it like some heavy object? No, the technical name is given as a beam to it. Of course, cantilever, simply supported, overhang, all those things that we have given to that, depending upon their behavior with respect to the supports we give to it. But otherwise, it's a horizontal member, as simple as that. A beam means like it will continuously it will be there for x amount of distance in both the directions, x as well as z. So it can be there only horizontally. It can never be vertical. And mostly you will study buckling also. That is one of the important concepts in strength of materials. I guess you will learn, I think, or might have learned. That's okay. So a frame is something that is consisting of a beam and a column. Okay. Now we are very clear. Very, now the subject is very clear to us. Of course, I am talking about only houses, shops, complexes and all. But I can go to airport, I can go to bus stand, I can go to railway station, I can go to a shed, I can go to a bike repair shop. I can go to a shop, a car repair shop. I can go to any godowns. I can go to D-Mart, supermarkets. There you have something called as truss. What is that? It is called as truss. I will talk about it in detail in the coming classes. So stress also is one structural member. So now in this subject, like in our human body, we have hands movement, we have legs movement, we have our body movement, and we are analyzing our body condition depending upon our movement. Like that, when we talk about structural analysis, we are going to analyze. What are we going to analyze? Simple. Three components in total. Three components in total. What are those? Beams, frames, trusses. So over. This subject is over. As simple as that. Beams, frames, trusses. Okay. So beam is something that I have already seen in strength of materials. Frames we are going to see in one or two topics in this semester, but otherwise everything is frames, and two topics on trusses. Okay. What is that we are going to analyze? Why analysis is important? Good question. That is a good question that one should ask individually. Why should we carry out the analysis? Okay, that question is, and then the answer for that is also very simple. The answer would be, so now immediately after the end of the class, what you will do? You will stand from the place where you are sitting, which means your legs are touching the ground. Oh, the legs are touching the ground and I am walking from one portion to the other. What is the guarantee that the floor which you are walking will not crack or will not break into pieces because of your movement? So you might be around 50 kg, 60 kg, 40 kg, or 70 kg weight. So when an average 50 kg object is moving from one portion to the other, what is the guarantee that the floor will not break into pieces? Did you ever get that question, anyone? Did you ever get a thought that, okay, I'm walking somewhere. What if something breaks if I'm walking? Did anyone get that question? Somebody might have got it. Somebody might not have got it also. But the answer there is, it was analyzed for our movement. What was that? It was already analyzed for that movement. So before construction itself, what they need to do? They need to see who all will walk, what all will be there. Computer table, a double cot bed, a single cot bed, an almirah, or dining table, or a TV, refrigerator. So many options are there. So what it is saying now, it is trying to speak about why we need to consider the analysis. Why do we need to consider the analysis? Correct, na? Now, what is the answer? Because of all these movements. Yeah, there are some good answers that are coming. Ritvik has given a fantastic answer. By analyzing the frame is perfect or not, we can give the guarantee for the live load applied. Fantastic answer. What a good. Correct. That's true also. So he spoke beyond our understanding. So he brought a new term, live load. No, there's no confusion as such. Whatever is moving on the floor, on the slab, or anywhere in the structure is called live load. Simple. So, which means, okay, now analysis means we are trying to analyze the beam when it is subjected to different loads over. Finish. Structural analysis. So in structural, what did we consider? A beam, a frame, and a truss. And in analysis, what are we trying to do? We are trying to see its behavior when it is subjected to different load. So what is the behavior? So behavior means it can be a deflection, it can be a moment, it can be a shear. So first of all, when we talk about shear, there is something that is very, very important. Shear, isn't it? What is shear? Shear is a very good phenomenon. If somebody asks me what is shear, Without thinking at all, I'll simply say, I have a habit of eating sandwiches, and a bread converted into sandwich is the example of shearing. Over. Nothing else. You need not even think about the technical definition. Shear means bread, the rectangular or the square shaped bread, cut diagonally, exactly diagonal 45 degrees. It will be two pieces, two sandwich pieces. What is happening in between? Movement. That's a kind of movement that is happening, not torsion. See, in our houses, our mothers, what they will do, they'll prepare the buttermilk, right? And what process they do? They will hold a stick, a small kind of a stick for making the buttermilk out of curd. What is that process called? Can anyone say? You have read it in Strength of Materials. What is that? What is the phenomena called? Or you are drying the clothes. Then when the clothes are wet, you are drying it. Yes, perfect. Priyanka has answered it. Twisting. It is called as twisting. So what force will be there? Torque. And what phenomena we need? Torsion. Right? Like that. So shear and torsion are very close to each other. Very close to each other. But what is movement then? Think about it for next class. What is movement? How do we use it and where do we use it? Because you all have calculated bending moment, you all have calculated shear force. We should be in a position to say what is bending moment and shear force, right? Think about it, recall the concepts. We will discuss tomorrow again. And so ultimately, before I conclude today's class, what I would like to say is that in the entire course, there are so many methods, and there are so many supports, there are so many methods, and there are so many loads that are acting on a beam or a frame for different supports, different loads. We will try to analyze it to see the behavior. That's what we are going to do in this subject. So Dharni, 1 second. Yeah, so that's what we will do in structural analysis, and that's how we need to learn the subject. So in tomorrow's class, I'll be talking about introduction to structural analysis and various technical terms that we consider in structural analysis. Okay, guys.